Hey everyone, welcome back. Well, I've had some planter marker trouble, and as you can see right there, that's not exactly supposed to be like that. And so I'll show you right quick. Sure enough, this past Saturday, I had this thing outside, and what I was actually doing was I had taken some cleaner, and I cleaned off all this in and that kind of stuff, because in one of my previous videos I had showed where one of the valve body, it's like a drip tube, right? In fact, right there it is, where I put that new drip tube into it. But like I say, that tube had been off for I don't know how long, and then I remember I caught it last year, and so I put a new tube onto it. Well, anyway, it had made a big mess all here on the end of it, so I got some cleaner, cleaned it all down, got all that old dirt and oil and stuff washed off of it. Anyway, so I went to take and unfold the marker, and let me see here. I'll try to explain right quick how this thing works. Right here, you can see them two little holes. On the other side of that, I don't know how well you can see up in there, probably not too well. You can sort of see the wires, but right there at the end of my finger, there's a mercury switch. And what that does is it's a two-stage marker. Well, so much for that. Forget it. I'll put that back up here in a little bit. You got the second stage, which is that part going back and then folding over. Then you have this piece right here. When you pull out into the field and unfold the planter, there's a control box up in the tractor. You put these lower pieces on both the right and left sides, that you go ahead and fold those out. And so they're sticking out, what is that, about pretty near 4 feet on out here beyond the end of the planter. And so that part of the marker right there is the part that goes up and down all the time. And these here, you only pull them up for when you're transporting and or coming up beside a woods, a fence line, a road, something like that. Then you run with the full piece up. Well, what this mercury switch does is it does not allow the second stage to activate until stage 1 is down. And so Saturday, I pulled outside the shed here and unfolded both left and right sides, but I could not get stage 2 to activate. And so I got poking around in here on the solenoid. I found that top solenoid right there is the one that activates that stage 2. And I was not getting any power to it. And so I checked over on the left-hand side, and it checked out okay on that solenoid, because there's also a valve bank underneath that cover. And so poked around with it, and I never could get any juice coming to it. And so finally I went and I just folded it all back up. When I did, I happened to see that hanging out down below from the tractor cab. I as soon as I saw that, I knew something ain't right. And so somehow that plug right there pulled apart. And basically all that does is when stage 1 here goes down, the mercury switch just makes connection and allows that circuit to close. And then that way it'll send power to the solenoid, because both of these are a hot wire. You got power coming down one side, the mercury switch closes the circuit, and it allows the power to go back down the other side. Well, as you can see, power is not going to be it will not be going down that. And so it somehow pulled apart right there on that plug. And if it would have just simply smashed that right there, fine, no big deal. But as you can see, it smashed the plug too. And trying to replace that line up into that harness mess right there. I thought about trying to do it, but instead of doing that, I'm just simply going to take and hardwire it. And so I'm just going to take and cut it right here, and I'll cut that plug, and I'll put connectors in, add some new wiring, and just connect it like that. These switches, they actually last for as long as they don't get damaged. They last forever. And so if I ever need to replace it, well, no big deal. Simply cut the wire, refix it, no big deal there. And so that's what I'm working on. And in case you're wondering what that is actually a plate. Here several years back, in fact, I actually put that switch in new, but this has probably been, I'm guessing, 5-6 years ago. This marker broke off right here. Dad went to turn that to the end of the field. He sat back down, put the marker out, and it snapped right there. You can see the weld line all the way around. Just this piece right here is what was on the planter. The rest of the marker just dropped in the field. And so got that all welded back together. I put this big plate here on the bottom. That's about I don't know, putting there. It don't miss being 1/2 inch by a whole lot, maybe 3/8. And so weld that all back. I put that plate on the bottom, and of course weld all the way around the whole outside, all the way around it. And so far, it's still holding. So I'm going to take and put you back into my official camera holder, my Carhartt pocket. And I'm just going to tell you right now, let's see here, it was last night and first thing this morning, we had snow. And so I'd say it's probably in the low to maybe mid-30s out. So whoever wants snow in April, you need to have your head checked. Also, if you want a great oil cleaner, Ether does a good job. And yowzer, getting that Ether on already cold fingers makes them numb, man. So I'm going to take, and hopefully you can see that. I usually always try and take and put my camera on wide angle, that way it picks up more. There we are. And actually, come to think of it, while I'm working on this, thought I'd do a quick little shout out to some. Be careful, I don't end up cutting my fingers off. Come on. Thought I'd do a quick little shout out to some fellow Hoosier farmers in southern Indiana. I don't know if they'd want me to say their names on here, but they'll know who they are, because we'll tell you what, I'll just list off some of the tractors that they have, and they'll know who they are. But they use Allis-Chalmers tractors. They have a Allis-Chalmers 8070 and Allis-Chalmers 8050. Let's see here. An Allis-Chalmers 7060. Come on, get out of there. Trying to get through all that braided stuff on there. And let's see here, what else do they got? They have an Allis-Chalmers D17 and an Allis-Chalmers WD. And a 1997 Gleaner Combine, an R62. And so, if you guys are watching this, hope everything's going good down that way. Oh yeah, come to think of it, the one even has a John Deere Gator, and so John Deere and Alice Chalmers can play good together. And that's pretty much all the tractors that I can remember that they got right off the top of my head. They might have a couple more that I can't remember right offhand. That's the main ones that they have. Along with a Peterbilt and, well, let's see here, a Kenworth semi. So I think I practically listed everything they got, for the most part anyway. But trying to get the cut through that braided stuff is kind of a pain. I just don't want to cut too deep and get into the actual wiring insulation. Let's see if I can go backwards now I got my hand out of the way. Because I don't exactly want to stick that knife blade right into my finger. Back, come to think of it, speaking of whacking your finger, for any of you guys out there who have, put new chisel plow points onto a disc chisel, how many of you have, well, before you knew better, or like I did, learned the hard way, taken and when you're loosening up the bolts on the old chisel plow shovels to put new shanks on, you were dumb enough to either try and hold and or push the carriage bolt in with your thumb to keep it from turning while you put an impact onto it. Yeah, that don't exactly end up too well. I did that one time. I didn't actually hold the bolt. I just took my thumb and thought, well, I'll be real smart and simply hold the bolt, because like I say, it's a carriage bolt with shoulders, and hold that into the square hole of the chisel plow shank. Well, yeah, you guessed it. After going through all that dirt, the tops of those bolts are like a razor blade. And so, yeah, I can't chew the end of my one poor old thumb up. Let's just say I never did that again. One thing for sure, that old plastic braiding on there is really tough. Well, I'm just trying to get that, there we go, peeled back far enough to be able to get that wire exposed. And, oh, I didn't bring it with me. I'll have to run back over to the other shed to get it here in a little bit. But I'm going to be using those round butt connectors to take and connect this all back together. And you got to watch when you're using them things that you get them sealed up good. Otherwise, they can get all kinds of dirt and crud and that kind of stuff into it. And so I don't know how many of you guys have ever used it, but something that I found out that works pretty good. In fact, a neighbor of mine, he farms, and I saw him use it one time, so I got me some. It's that liquid electrical tape, and it just comes in a little small can, and the top of the can, well, on the lid, has a brush, like kind of like PVC glue and that kind of stuff. But it's like I say, it's liquid electrical tape, and so you just take and paint it on, and it actually works really well. It seals up the little holes and the notches and everything, and like I say, you can just take and come on. Seal up a butt connector, and it works great. Especially for something like this that you want to keep all the dirt and water and that kind of stuff out of. Because actually at the end of the planting season, when we're all done, I will take and take the garden hose, and I'll literally just take this, I'll just hose the whole planter completely down. I got a big, it almost kind of looks like a big fire nozzle that I put on the end of my garden hose, running a 3/4 inch garden hose, and I'll just go over the whole entire planter, just blasting water everywhere. And so I don't exactly want water inside the circuit, but with that like I say, with that liquid electrical tape, it works pretty good. Alrighty, we'll take and cut this here off. In fact, actually, you got to watch these. I think they actually call that a Canon connection, them little round connectors. And you can actually end up having trouble with them, come to think of it. Because that is what we ran into here several years ago. We started having a lot of monitor trouble on this thing. And to make a long story short, it ended up being the whole entire wiring harness on this thing had started breaking down, and rows were not working as far as the monitor. It was not picking up any kind of signal, and it was a mess. Well, thankfully, the one place that we do quite a bit of business with, they handle a lot of aftermarket parts and things. Manchester Farm Center out of North Manchester, Indiana. They were able to get me a whole new wiring harness for all 12 rows and everything like that for a whole lot cheaper than what John Deere was. In fact, if I'm trying to remember right, the guy actually knows someone who used to work with John Deere building harnesses. And like I say, the old monitor harness where the monitor, or where the mainframe harness would connect to the row unit, because you can replace those pickups on the row. It had these round connectors, and so we actually upgraded it to the actual flat head. It's just like a flat plug, and I think they call it like a weather pack, and they're a whole lot better. Okay, that's got that all cleaned up. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to find, I had a thing of wire right there. It is. Okay, well, I'm at the 20-minute mark on this video, so I'm just going to call this part 1, because if I keep the videos right around about 20 minutes, it makes it a whole lot easier to upload on my YouTube channel. So we'll be back here in just a few seconds for part 2. Take care.